Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette, and so glad that you're with me and Flat Mark here to stay curious on our fifth anniversary program today on Friday, March 28th, 2025. And we're going to take you down memory lane, we being Marty Winkle, my co producer and friend for the last 5 years as we brought to you live 5 days a week at 4 o'clock some sort of space history, astronaut interview, space worker conversation, and all kinds of love for the shuttle era that we have embraced here now at the American Space Museum, where for over 20 years we've been preserving the birth of America's space age right here in this delivery room, Brevard County, Florida. And that is right there on the little horn on the east coast of Florida there. And gonna go through memory lane, and I'm gonna miss some things that I probably should talk about and people I should mention. So just forgive me. Can't mention everybody that's been part of this incredible journey for 5 years. And just up front, I can't tell you how touched I am to have made so many really good friends in the last 5 years because of this program. Particularly you space geeks out there that love space, love the history of it, like the history told properly. And just so many of you found us all through the pandemic of 5 years ago. So I'm going to ask Marty to come in appropriately on our UCAC family microphone. Yes, bought by the UCAC family for us as our studio here inside of our museum is pretty much cobbled together from hand-me-down things, and that's okay. We've lived with that. We've not had a lot of money to get in, buy new things and so forth, but hopefully that'll come down the road as after some 1,250 episodes, we hope that we become an overnight sensation for everybody there. But there we are, Marty. A couple years ago, that won't go full. There it goes full. Our 5th year anniversary. There we are in our conference room here at the American Space Museum, and I can't thank Marty enough. He's a volunteer. This is completely out of his wheelhouse, broadcasting like this. He was an engineer on the lunar module, an electrical engineer. We talk a lot about that. And also, Marty worked for 30 years with the launch process system of the SSME engines of the space shuttle. And we've learned a lot. And Marty, just say hello to everybody out there that's got us this far 5 years down the road.
Hello, everyone. Glad you're all watching today. Happy anniversary, Mark.
Well, hey, thank you, Marty. Happy anniversary to you. We couldn't really do it all together. I see everybody pouring their nice greetings in there from around the country, the usual suspects that spend an hour with us every day. That means so much to us that it's the type of show that you can put in the background, I know, and chime in when you want. So thank you, everybody, for your acknowledgement of our 5th anniversary. We're going to attention everyone out there, broadcasting everywhere across the world, okay, from sea to from shore to sea. We feel like we are over we've hit 5 continents, and there's Chris Callie, who we will talk about, one of our biggest promoters and friend that I made through this program. Marty, you've made a lot of friends in this program too. Your friends are my friends as they found us here. But here we are announcing everywhere around the world. Stay Curious is 5 years old, thanks to Chris Callie there. And this is the very first episode. I took a screen grab off of it there. Looks like I was a little healthy there. Stay Curious, first broadcast on March 23rd, 2020 from our Cape Canaveral, that's our workers gallery. That is that's the Gemini gallery. And I'm trying to compose myself because it's been one of those days where before I even walked in my office, I answered 3 questions and had 2 people wanting to talk to me. And I drop everything when you're in front of me. And I probably didn't put as polished a program together today. So what? What's new? Marty says is he's accustomed to me. And those of you that know me jumping in here at 4:45 and putting it all together. Of course, I have to have an hour of prep time and so forth. But that was the very first show recorded live. I had an inclination that this was going to be something I would turn over to a young man that was here at the museum that left because of the COVID situation. So we closed down our museum like the whole world closed down 5 years ago in mid-March 2020. And I said to this beautiful lady, Karen Conklin, there, we can't let people supporting our nonprofit know that we're just laying down. We have to do something for outreach. And I think there's this thing called Facebook Live, and with my cell phone, I can put artifacts up there and talk about them in our museum and keep us relevant. Well, one thing, of course, led to another, and I have been a very experienced speaker in the astronomy astrophotography circles for decades. So I was very comfortable, and I've always been comfortable talking to crowds. After all, I've been a salesman most of my life, so I enjoy people. I enjoy talking, not so much hearing myself talk, but I enjoy the conversationalists that we have with people. And Karen died of lung cancer last August, and I miss her so much. We think about her every day as our museum keeps going forward with her goals of STEAM education and outreach in the community, so that we do preserve the birth of America's space age, like Civil War items have been preserved now for 160 years or more. Our items are in the 60-year category now. And those of you that have been in our museum know how fabulous it is. And could get carried away there, missing Karen. She was so important with giving me free reign with this program. She trusted me to not say something stupid that would get me in trouble. I say a lot of stupid things, but I talk about the type of politically correct things that our museum has to have as a nonprofit. Therefore, we never talk about politics, we never talk about religion, and we never talk about sex and sex in relationship to men and women. They're taboo subjects unless they have to do something about space. So God bless you, Karen. I know you're looking down today. And she's really do miss her, Marty. Excuse me a minute there. What she gave me changed my life here at this museum. And I know a lot of you know that. So just give me a minute there.
Mark, I would sing a song, but I can't do that. People will turn us off.
If I stop talking for a minute, okay. Thanks for bringing me down to earth there, Marty. But I mean what I say about Karen, and those of you that know her, she started the flat mark thing when I went on vacation. She said, well, Marty, hold up a picture of him as he talks in there. And those of you know Flat Stanley from your kids going to school and so forth. But this was the scene 5 years ago that we all don't want to remember. Karen even had special COVID masks made for us. And I think we had 100 of them made. They become quite a popular item. We had people, Chamber of Commerce's and so forth, asking me for them when they'd see me wear one at a thing where we had to wear masks in there. But we went quickly from my cell phone to our cameras here and found out that we could broadcast on Facebook like that. And then once we monetized YouTube to 1,000 people, which our IT manager, Bruce Jacobs, engineered, then we could go on YouTube. And that took about a year and a half. So the first 200 or so episodes of Stay Curious are strictly on Facebook. And you'll see all kinds of backgrounds and so forth that I set up there. It's all in our video library there. And now we have over 900 episodes of Stay Curious on YouTube. There's Marty and I again, always looking good there, Marty. Such a Marty and I, well, we got along all the time, but I certainly have my bullheaded ways that I want things done a certain way, and we clashed a few times, but it was like brothers, and we really were trying to figure out something that we had never done before. And I did several backyard astronomy episodes because that was my wheelhouse, astronomy and backyard astronomy. I would show you how to set up a telescope. That's actually Venus up there in the sky. And we've not, we got very bold as we bought some equipment. Believe it or not, my high school homecoming queen bought us some, and her husband bought us some audio equipment that we could use lavalier mics, and that presented a problem of them, the wires getting maybe shorted out and so forth, and but that was we would go out to Spaceview Park. We did launches off of a condo balcony for a while, all trying to just reach out to you, and though that was too complicated and too much for us to do, we finally settled on just keeping everything in the studio. And then when we got a grant of $5,000 to buy equipment, mainly a computer that we needed to power this program, that's when we brought in a very valuable resource to us, Trekkie Techie Jessica Galloway. And we'll see some pictures of Jessica here. We've done 1,253 episodes of today, 250 plus guests, and we've been broadcast to 5 continents, 20 plus countries. Okay, have received or commented about the Stay Curious there, and and this. I remember Karen distinctly saying, "What are you going to do today on Stay Curious?" And this would be about 11 o'clock in the afternoon or 11 o'clock in the morning. I said, "I don't know." And what do you want me to do? And I went to resources of everyday events in space history and astronaut birthdays. I knew that we need to know astronauts at this museum, and what better way to get to know them than to celebrate their birthdays and their missions, particularly the shuttle. So we created the shuttles of the month. And here's some of the people that we've had on the show. Mr. Jay Honeycutt, Jaylene Spears, Nick Thomas became a regular once a month. We'll have Nick on next Monday. Mr. Honeycutt befriended me through this program, and we've done a project together that you're going to see at Stay Curious. Are you going to see it Stay Curious? You're going to see it Shuttle Fest. Jay Honeycutt's A Brief History of NASA Human Spaceflight. What a wonderful gentleman he is, and such an influence on our space program, not just on the being the director of Kennedy Space Center in 95 and 96, but what he did for the Apollo simulations that he was over and so forth. Jaylene Spears, another quality control person that I had to cajole her for about a year to get on here, Marty. And I remember nervously going up to Nick Thomas and handing him my card as he was escorting an astronaut across the campus there, and he almost did block me away. You know what he does, Marty, when someone approaches him when they're walking across, because they thought I was going to approach the astronaut, who I think was Terry Wilcutt. And then I said, "No, sir, I want to talk to you. Here's my card. I want to get you to enter my museum and get to know you." And now Nick has become a very important part of our museum, and he's the master of ceremonies at Shuttle Fest. Terry White, Steve Agate, Terry White once a month on our show with such information about the shuttle that you all just gobble up. Another expert that's a communicator at the Space Center, Steve Agate, got him lined up almost once a month to do a program. You remember Steve's program about movies that influenced space. And then we would do things occasionally like Future Friday. But this was a big deal for me now to do these, because Karen would always say, "What are you going to do?" And I would say, "I don't know. I'll let you know in about an hour." And then I'd figure out, oh, so-and-so's birthday and this space shuttle launched or mission to Mars or something like that. And then I kept those files and have a pretty voluminous, almost once a day, 365 folders with what some of our scripts are and stuff like that. We've used the scripts. This was a big breakthrough where how am I going to, know what we're talking about? And then so I would make the script in the cloud and print it off there. That was a big breakthrough. And then all the while just attracting new people out there. And many of you have told us how you found us. There's Marty behind the board in the conference room where we set up there with old John Glenn in the backdrop there and so forth. And there's how he looked most of the time as we were trying to figure it out. And I'm going, Marty, here, let me see if this will work. I don't know who took that picture, but I've seen that look a few times, Marty. Go ahead and comment, my friend there. Please comment a little bit there. We really were in the weeds on this for a while.
I don't know what I was thinking there, Mark, but I know you're probably aggravating me for some reason or another. But like you said before, we get over it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I'm wearing today what is my official go to Sunday sort of special outfit there, my vest, and I started wearing this on interviews with astronauts and VIPs there. And I know who we were interviewing here. I'll bet this was Lowell Grissom, one of my favorite. Lowell Thomas, some of you know, was the explorer guy, wasn't he, Marty? Remember, wasn't Lowell Thomas on TV with the travel world of Lowell Thomas on there? So I love you, Marty. You're like a big brother to me, and you know that, and you've helped me a lot. You've done a lot of things for me that I would never do, including going to Washington, D.C. We'll talk about that in a minute. And yes, Marty will be at Shuttlefest. Of course he'll be. He'll probably be doing more camera work because we've got Mike Ronaldo there to man the board. But
I think you got me doing 4 different things.
We'll talk about that after. I got you doing the silent auction. I got you being an astronaut wrangler. And you're going to help with the production. What'd be the 4th one?
You want me to learn the new equivalent to Streamlabs?
Oh yes, yeah. We're gonna see what Mike's bringing us, a new program where we can get Google Meets and bring people in earlier. Got to give a big shout out to Dr. Ken Kramer. You locals all know who he is. He was very influential with Jean Wright, the Sow sister, of promoting our program. He came on frequently and talked about space missions and so forth. Ken, I appreciate you and Jean for helping us in the beginning get this thing set off. That's a typical setup there with Marty on the camera. I think Jean probably took this picture. We're wearing Jean's, gave me that vest, and that's a shirt that Jean Wright made too. So I really appreciate you, Ken and Jean, for the early days. They were very instrumental in increasing our numbers. And there's Trekkie Techie, Jessica Galloway of Cheap Development, CHEAP. And she tutored us when she was in Iowa, Marty. Remember that? She was in Kansas. She's from Kansas. I'd met her at a Chamber of Commerce event. I told her, look, I think you can help us. She goes, I'd love to help you. And she said, talk to Marty on the phone every day to have him set it up. She'd stay with it. And then she came in and we put up our first green screen and everything. And she is proud that she really embraced us. We couldn't have done it so quickly without her. She's been well recognized at Stevenson Elementary School or middle school for her talents as a teacher. And she's still there for us. When we get in a bind, we just call up Jessica, our Trekkie Techie. She's a big Star Trek fan, and she's always there for us. There again is the setup in the conference room back there, and it was taken over the conference room, and we even put a screen in front of it so people wouldn't go back there and mess with stuff. There you see, I would show pictures all the time. I've got my. This was a very important piece of of our program right here, Marty, was the let me make that small. Is this little plastic thing that Bruce customized for us that I would put my pictures in, and Marty would zoom in on them. All right, it's fun to watch some of these old shows back. I'm proud of them. We had good content, though the how we showed graphics and so forth was quite crude. But you all got it, and you all carried along with it. And I'll show a few pictures. One of the first ones, Gary Gerald. You'll see Gary here in just a minute. Of course, Dave. There we are. I got this kind of synced up. Dave Stange was one of the first ones to meet us. You'll see a picture of Dave. But there's Donnie and Gary from Collins, Georgia. All right, Gary Gerald is his last name there. He's a Vidalia onion and peanut farmer. And what a guy. His wife, Donnie, when he left, they came and saw us for the first time. And then Gary went back to the bathroom, and she said, Mark, he's coming in off the tractor an hour early. Can't wait to get in and start watching Stay Curious at 4 o'clock. It's part of his daily routine during COVID. All right. And so I just was just so honored. And then I got to meet him. And boy, you want to shake a hand, Marty? You shake Gary's hand there. You know what I mean. That is a man's man there. And I love you, brother, and thank you for all your support of Stay Curious from the beginning. And so if you got a question for me or Marty about some of the episodes and so forth that we've done, please go ahead. But though it's probably hard for many of you to believe, I am kind of I am an extrovert, but I have an inferiority complex, I think. And I also get nervous all the time going on this show. And every day get a little butterflies. And if I didn't, I probably wouldn't want to do it. But I was one of the most nervous I've ever been as interviewing Mr. Hugh Harris. All right. Not any of the astronauts. Astronauts are astronauts. And I don't get nervous being around an astronaut because they've been interviewed so many times. I'm more worried about saying something stupid that they'd walk off because I said something wrong. But I was really nervous to interview Hugh Harris because he was the public affairs officer for NASA, the voice of the shuttle for many years, involved decades in NASA PR. And I'm a kindred news person. You all know I work for the Associated Press as a photographer, wrote thousands of articles for newspapers, covered City Hall, council meetings, that kind of thing. But when I got to Hugh Harris, I was really kind of nervous. And I was nervous to call him up, Marty, even on the phone. And then, of course, he ended up being one of the sweetest men and one of the nicest friends that I've made here on the Space Coast until he died. There we are with our COVID masks. We had a barrier between us there, a plastic barrier you can just barely see the edge of, as if that would stop the COVID virus, but apparently it did on there. Sorry, that's such low resolution. But Marty, you've got a question?
Yeah, Mark Usak is asking, who holds the record for the most appearances?
Well, who would you think, Marty?
I would think Terry White, or it could be Mike, but I would guess Terry.
I'm thinking Terry White has probably been on more than anybody of the regular monthly. Mikey Haddad is monthly, but he misses. He comes on about 10 times a year.
Nick Thomas is
Nick Thomas is 11 times a year, maybe. We're missing somebody though. Carlton Bailey's been on quite a few times, but just 4 or 5. But yeah, I'd say Terry White's probably our number one guy on there, and you'll see some pictures of Terry. Thank you, Mark. You're going to see some pictures of you, Mark Usiak. Again, my bromance with all these people that have brought us here is just incredible, Marty. We're just so blessed. All these people get what we're talking about. And Mark Usiak is another expert in the business as a photographer and so knowledgeable about everything. But he doesn't take himself so seriously, and that's a pleasant thing to have. Here are the three of the workhorses there: Nick Thomas, Terry White, and of course Mr. Hugh Harris. There we call Terry the shuttle garage manager, and Nick Thomas the astronaut wrangler. Monikers that I think they like. Of course, Hugh is the voice of NASA. Again, I had this lineup the week of Thanksgiving a year ago, or a couple years ago. Hugh died in February of 2023. No, 2024. Yeah, a little over a year ago. And I was actually calling Hugh, and his son answered the phone. And I said, "Is Hugh there?" And he said, "No." His son said, "No, Hugh died last night, and I'm dealing with it right now. You'll have to call back later." And I'm going, "Oh my God," And uh, but there is Mr. Harris. God bless him. He had a lunch group called the Good Old Boys and Girls Club that were NASA public relations people and a couple astronauts and VIPs like Mr. Honeycutt and Bob Seek and Lee Solid would come there. We had Kay Hire come frequently, so would astronaut Jim Adamson. And when Hugh asked me to come to that after the second time he was on Stay Curious as a regular, he said, "Well, come to this luncheon with me," and I'd heard about it, and I thought, oh my God, if I ever get to go to that, I died and gone to heaven. And now a lot of these, but I still go to it, and we have a lot of fun at it. But when Hugh turned 90 years old, we had a party for him here. He turned 90, I'm thinking in December, and so his 90th birthday, we bring a cake in for him, and he says, he blows out the candle at the end, and I said, "Hugh, I know you made a wish. Would you like to share that wish with us?" And this sweet gentleman said to me, looked at me, he said, "Mark, my wish was that I be around for your 90th birthday." And that is one of the best wishes anyone could make on there. Go ahead, Marty, for a comment.
Yeah, Julie Clay is asking, do you and Marty have a favorite episode that you've done?
Well, I'll let Marty ruminate on that.
Well, we talked about that a couple of years ago, and even 2 or 3 years ago, we could not come up with a favorite. We tried coming up with 10, and we said, no, we got to go to 20. And there's just too many favorites.
Yes. Well, a couple that I will say that I've enjoyed a lot. I pulled out some pictures of here, and you'll see him here in just a minute. Okay, on there. I'm thinking of Sarah Sabri, the Egyptian astronaut on the suborbital flight. You thought she'd spent a year in space. She was so excited about that. That was a lot of fun. All the astronauts are fun to interview. Really, I think we've had the most fun with Winston Scott, because Winston now has been on 4 or 5 times, and he just sits down and takes your questions. And I know Winston very well. We're getting to know Tom or Don Thomas like that as far as astronauts. I have an astronaut favorite interview I'll show here in just a minute. Andy Allen was a lot of fun, particularly when I squeezed the silly string that they did in their picture. I wasn't sure how he was going to take that. He was a tethered satellite guy, and they had the silly string in their photo there. And some other people here are commenting there. You can make the topic if you want. John Tribe's episodes are very informative too. I enjoyed Mr. Lee Solid, was on 3 times. He was just fascinating as can be. Learned so much from the late Lee Solid. And this is what we're all about, getting these gentlemen and women on before they pass away. And a lot of them, I think, realize their mortality and want to come on here. All right, there's nothing to snicker at or be ashamed about, saying that we're going to die and you're in your 80s and you don't know when that next doctor's appointment is going to change your life. And to that end, we're going to bring Bob Seek on more this year. Bob's wanting to come on more, and he's freed up some time for that. Marty, you thinking of any other ones as I'm rambling?
Well, yeah, for sure. Mine.
Yours, yes.
No, not
Absolutely.
really.
We got Marty on and did an excellent lunar module with four squares that you put on the bottom of his coasters on a chair. That's an interesting thing to talk about. Marty and I, Marty says, I'm not going to go on, I won't talk on the show. And I said, well, Marty, I'm a big radio guy. And the talk radio guys have, um, their producer they're talking to all the time. Famously was um, oh, who am I thinking? Who died that controlled the talk radio for so long on there? He talked to Bo Snerdley was his engineer, and I'm thinking of oh, that's embarrassing to have a senior moment like that. Um, you didn't listen to talk radio. Anyway, sports guys always talking to somebody on the other side of the glass, and then he finally came out of his shell, and now I think it adds so much to the program there. Um, and when we can talk to each other in there, Mark Thales saying he was stammering to talk to Jim Lovell, and he said Captain Lovell, and Jim just said call me Jim on there. So.
But Mark, for clarification, I was never really in a shell. I mean, I spent hours on headsets during the space programs.
Oh, okay.
So it was, to me, it was more of an act with you. I don't want to be on the show, but
Well, good. Rush Limbaugh is who we were talking about. Whatever your politics is, you can't deny that he changed the face of talk radio back in the 90s on there. And but he was always talking to his thing. But no, it adds so much, and we have a lot of fun with it. And we'll talk about a couple others might pop up here, some favorite moments, some favorite times. We had fun with the 1,000th show. Though I didn't find any slides to that, but let's get on here with some more memories there. There again, some people, Jeff Andrus, a name that I forget, but he talked about the shuttle tiles, okay? And there's Mike Baker. We enjoyed talking to Bakes. He's become a good friend through this museum. In fact, he expects us to, not because he needs to, but he wants to have an evening with us. We take him out for a beer and a meal, just like we do Charlie Walker on there. Let me go. I wanted to show the big three here. Make that small there.
I can move you over.
Carlton Bailey and move me over there to show those guys there. Carlton's in the middle. No, there's Mark's in the middle, Carlton Bailey, and Tom and Mark Usiak, the Rocket Hobos there. And so once again, Karen was quite amazed when I got up to where I could be doing, actually know for days in advance what we're doing. And though I try to do that, I don't always get a slide made. And it's just, yes, I do quite a lot here. And we're trying to straighten that out. And get some guest hosts on Stay Curious, like why not have Space Hipster #1, Emily Carney, on here, and our executive director of our foundation, Gabriel Rothblatt. He's going to do more programs with us. So, but there's a great guy that we had an awesome time with, Mike McCulley, just a fun guy. He taught me a lesson with astronauts. Astronauts just like the email bullets. They are the most short emails you'll ever get, usually, is from an astronaut. And sometimes they'll just say, okay, or copy that. All right. I sent him an email about 8 different things I wanted to talk about. And he sent me back, that's quite a lot. We'll see what we can get through. And that was it, And then we had a lot of fun. And personal business friend, Marty knows him very well. Of course, not only a shuttle pilot on STS 34, but beloved leader of United Space Alliance. And that is a program that is on Facebook only. We did some things with Murphy Wardman before he died. He was the lead engineer for Convair and the Atlas rocket on there. There's Bakes showing you off of there, having fun. I got the same backdrop here. Mike Baker looks a lot different than his photograph for sure. But he's a lot of fun. Looking forward to him coming back, doing another Stay Curious. And there's Jim Adamson, and that is my favorite astronaut interview with Jim there. Jim Adamson is a not a well-known astronaut, West Point graduate. He did the first email from space, okay, on STS 43, where John Blaha was his commander, and he and Shannon Lucid sent down the first email to Houston, and who was receiving that other than Marcia Ivins down there when that happened. But Jim is a very smart man. His autograph is rare. He doesn't autograph much. He said, "Mark, don't ask me to do this again. You know, Jay Honeycutt said to do it because you're a good guy." And I befriended both of them through this. And Jim was he and General Tom Stafford were the safety committee for America on the International Space Station with two Russian counterparts for over 20 years. This man knows a lot of secrets of our military. He did his first mission was I think it was STS 29 or 7, something like that. Anyway, it was a military mission on there. But Jim, yes, really, Jim Adamson, great guy, good interview. That's one to look up on our Facebook page. Probably really one of my best interviews of all time, though, is with Lowell Grissom there. There's Lowell, looks just like his brother Gus. There's Marty and I setting up for this old school way. Hauled the table with the gear on it into the Gemini gallery. There's my script right here. This is how I kept track of things until we started putting stuff up in the cloud, and then I could print it out on there. But that was my kind of like notes to me, and remembering for people to like, share, copy, paste, whatever they do to get us out there. But those were fun with Mr. Grissom, wasn't it, Marty? Yeah, he was a very good guy. And I may have done the last interview he'll ever do, because when he was here a year ago in January 2024, I cajoled him to come in and do an interview here in our new studio, and he rolled his eyes at Karen said, and says, "Oh, well, I guess I might as well, but I've done a lot of interviews." So anyway, what a great guy, still kicking and still promoting his brother. And Jefferson Michaelis, okay, and he is a Brazilian STEAM educator, and he and his group have been on our show, and Marty and Hazel Banks, our number one fan, Hazel Banks out there. She was on the show 3 or 4 times too, probably 4 times, and she's still around. Hello, Hayes, need to call you, and so she's you and her and Al Kohler did a special thing for Brazilian students. There's Sarah Sabri. She's suborbital flight a couple years ago. You had thought she'd gone to the moon. She was just so filled with awe and wonder and embraced herself. She's the first Egyptian to go to the edge of space on there, Sarah Sabri. And then she brought her posse in with her there, which we've done before. But there's Rob and Jacques there right beside me. Rob and Jacques from Holland. Hello, guys. They were just here and left not too long ago. And then these other people that were with Sarah were part of her posse there. So I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun, Marty, with her. I wonder what she's doing these days. We need to look her up. And we did some Zoom and we did some Google Meets, and then we kind of lost touch with it because we stopped doing it. And that's just something that Marty and I got to get back on the saddle and doing. But Nicole Stott, what a beautiful earthling she is. She's influenced me a lot with her book, Lessons Learned in Space. And we adopted a lot of her Stott-isms, like slow down to go fast, which is an astronaut thing. Stay grounded, okay? But most importantly, 3 things that she always shares that we're sharing on Stay Curious, thanks to this beautiful woman. And that is 1, we're all earthlings. 2, we live on a planet. And 3, the only border that matters is the thin blue line that keeps us all alive. So we've had a lot of fun with her. I think she likes me. Okay, this is at the astronaut memorial that she talked at in January. Very somber, serious, and patriotic ceremony to honor all 17 fallen astronauts. So yeah, she likes me good enough there. So pictures that Carlton Bailey was on his toes to take, but have a lot of fun with her. And how about Mikey Haddad bringing us astronauts to Shuttle Fest, like J.D. Bartow, and we had Bob Cabana there last year. Mikey's a level 4 engineer for NASA, and he wrote a book on payloads and has brought his payload friends with him. There I am holding something space flown, okay, and that's Tracy. That's Tracy in the back in the center there with Mikey. Also, Scott Vongen's been on the show, another level 4 guy on there. But these guys tell you the nuts and bolts of putting payloads, and that is one of my favorite ones. Is when he was talking about putting the animals in the lab on the pad, and that they had to do a thing down the tunnel. It was on the pad vertical, and so you had to be a worker had to be lowered into there. Very, very interesting how they did that. Thank you, Mikey, for your help. There's my buddy Gary Studi. When we did it old school way, put their name on a plate there, typed up their name on Stay Curious, and then I'd wave it and hold it up in front of you there. Gary is the world expert on growing food in space, without a doubt. And he has a hard time getting funding and having people listen to him. I think the most important thing outside of getting along with somebody is food. How you going to have food for 9 months to Mars, 9 months back, and then stay there for 3 months? Food don't grow that fast, and you can't take a slaughterhouse with you and that sort of stuff, or enough mung beans if you're a vegetarian. So Gary, it brings that perspective. We need to have Gary on soon. But these are the type of guests that we've had on over and over. But let's get to what has really happened because of Stay Curious, Marty, is meeting these 4 gentlemen right here. All right. Mark Usiak, his big brother Tommy, Chris Callie, and Carlton Bailey. You guys have brought us a buffet of quality people that not only have embraced the museum, but have become personal friends along with yourself. And I'm really, really just honored and owe it to you guys big time about what you've all done. But more, the guy that started it all was Tom Usiak, who found this program, Marty, during COVID. And then I corresponded with him on about the Apollo 11 film was being redigitized, and you could see behind the mask of behind the faceplate of Buzz Aldrin, you could see his face and chin and eyes and stuff behind it on the flag salute one. And I didn't know Tom that well, but I knew he was a photographer like me, and I asked him about that, if that was general knowledge, if people knew about that, and he told me, oh yes, so and so had done this, and catch up with it. And then we befriended each other that way, and then we met Carlton, and then we met Chris Callie through these 2 brothers that are in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Again, we featured them several times on the show, and those of you that getting to know Carlton through the show, how else would you know Carlton and his Fodzilla without this show? But even one time, Chris and Mark sent to me from a conference they were at. They were watching Stay Curious on their phone at an event that they were at. How cool is that on there? So Chris and I become fast friends also. We talk. He's my co-chair for Shuttle Fest, encouraging us to take it to the next level. And that's what we're going to try to do here in a couple weeks. Chris, of course, is a world-renowned artist and stamp designer. His father, Paul Callie, the only artist allowed in the suit room on Apollo 11's suiting up. in 1969. In fact, July 16th. His dad was also first of 8 artists chosen by Jim Webb to be part of the NASA Arts program. And there's Chris's book about his father with his Power to Go on the front there, the Saturn V rocket. And there's Chris and Mark with Marie Fullerton. Just another person that I telephoned and talked to Marie yesterday. Yes, she's the wife of Gordon Fullerton. This picture a couple years ago. She's so beautiful and young looking. And in the background, there's Bobby Seek. Bob Seek's in the background talking. And this was at Hall of Fame a couple years ago. But again, love you, Marie. Somebody in BBC wants to do something on the approach and landing tests that her husband, Gordon Fullerton, and Fred Hayes were pilot and co-pilot of that. And so it's great to talk to her and making friends like that. And I can't believe when I phone her, I'm calling astronaut's wife here, that she still keeps the dream alive with her beautiful husband, Gordon Fullerton. Go ahead, Marty.
We got a question from Bill Whiting, but before that, we just got a comment from Carlton Bailey. He's speechless on what you said. And I've never known Carlton to be speechless as he's saying the same thing. So
well, thank you, Carlton. Well, that's I'm waxing eloquently here, okay, for you guys out there, because this is, like I said, a bromance that later in your life, you don't know what twists and turns are going to happen, particularly when you face your retirement years. And I can happily say that in my part-time retirement years here, I've never been more fulfilled in what I'm doing than what I'm doing now. Something important, I think, to preserve America's space age with people like this who photographed it, painted it, and lived it with Marie there and her husband. So I just get goosebumps thinking about it. Lee Wilson's another one that's congratulating us. We're going to have Lee back. He's a fabulous artist with a niche in his own and also a great communicator. Doug Forrest, there's mention you here in a minute. Thank you to Chris Calley and all of you out there for letting us use your artwork. There's the type of work that Chris Calley does. Okay, masterpiece of montages. And give a shout out to Ron Woods and Doug Forrest, who said hello and congratulations. He said there's always something new to learn through yourselves and your wonderful variety of guests. Thank you, Doug. That's what it's all about. He is a fabulous pencil artist. Ronnie Woods, again, works a lot in the watercolor medium. But Ron Woods, God bless you. He's called me up, Marty, just out of the blue. I said, "What's up, Ron?" He says, "I was just thinking about you here." He's always doing something on his house. He goes, I'm drywalling our family room again. And I just thought about you and thank you for what you do, Mark. And I go, what? What are you talking about, Ron? And he says, thank you for what you do. You're keeping the shuttle era alive that people wouldn't know anything about probably. And I'm going, well, thank you, because y'all deserve it there. Go ahead, Marty. You got a comment?
No, Bill Whiting is asking, says, Mark and Marty, what are your favorite moments from the show?
Moments from the show.
Yeah.
Well, I've shared a few of them. And I broke down a few times on the show. I'm not going to say it was a favorite moment, but, when Karen died and I had to go on and talk about her, and not talk about her for me, but talk about her for our family here at the American Space Museum and the whole community, as Karen was well known in the Titusville community. That was a very privilege to do that, and it's special to do that. And because I'd only known the lady, it's like 6 years, and she'd been here 20 years. So I like we've had some faux pas, but a favorite moment that we recovered from was when we had the Flag of Valor presented to Winston Scott, with astronaut Roger Crouch and his wife was part of the quilts of valor, and they presented one to Winston here, and the studio's way too small for what we were trying to do and all that. So, Marty, you got one you're thinking of? Besides the times you corrected me over and over.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
There's so many. I have a hard time mentioning one. I mean, there's just too many.
Yeah, 1,250 episodes here. And I say this with all sincerity. Doing this program every day now is my escape. All right. I understand why a race car driver says that they're at most peace and with themselves and the world when they're behind driving. Okay. Because the outside world distractions aren't there. I know what it is to be a manager. I've been a manager and and director of this museum now. You just show up and answer questions most of the day and solve problems, stomp out fires, and keep the rudder of the ship going in the right direction. So there's many moments outside here that I relish. Can't think of a moment that's just we've had a lot of fun. We just had a lot of fun, and every show has its own moments. And that moment is when we go live, and I see your comments out there, and I see your bright faces because I met you. Well, let's see here. There's some of Chris Callie's postage stamps that we wanted to brag about. That's his father's that you all seen, the first man on the moon, and then they collaborated on many other ones there. Carlton Bailey, some special words for you, my friend. A photojournalist has photographed over 700 rocket launches, and he allows me to use them. Karen kept saying, Mark, why don't you get a pass and go out to the Space Center and photograph the launches? And I'm saying, you know what? I've been there. I've done that with the Associated Press. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. And you're out there in the heat a lot of times, and I have heart disease and I get heat stroke very easily. I'm going to find somebody that's out there working and make a deal that I'll show their photos. Thus, Carlton came into view there. So thank you, buddy, for your great work and your reliable work there. Dave Stangy's saying that Cliff Watson and his fried pickles was a moment on the show. Yes. When he didn't like fried pickles, our Australian friend Cliff Watson. And Cliff's shows were always fun. Cliffy's been here twice during and he was on the show. There's Carlton looking dapper for Christmas. Yep, he wore that in public, folks. And met Don Thomas. And Don Thomas is going to be part of Shuttlefest. So you have to outdo yourself there, CB. But Don's become a good friend. Monday morning, I just sit down in my office a little after 10 o'clock. The door flings open. There's Don Thomas with a box of books. Says, hey, Mark, how you doing? I said, well, okay, Don. He said, here, let me set these down. I got another one in the car. And pinch me. That's my life, is dealing with astronauts like that when you don't even know they're going to walk through the door. And there's a good buddy there, Jonathan Ward. He was on episode 1001, which was when, Marty? February 18th, a year ago. Was episode 1001. So we're that's about right. We're 253 there. Jonathan Ward, author with Mike Leinbach on Bringing Columbia Home, and then he authored with Eileen Collins her book, Breaking the Glass Ceiling, and he's going to be here autographing that book with both Mike and Eileen at Shuttlefest, and I think there's maybe 10 slots left. No more hotel rooms, folks. We packed in 22 very cheap hotel rooms in there. But thank you again, a person that travels around the world as a astronomy educator on these cruise lines. And he's on the high-end ones, too. And he's always talking about stay curious to people on there. So thank you, Jonathan Ward. And some fun there. Yep, there is Steve and Carlton. with Jennifer in the background, and that's about all you're going to see of Connie on the show. Okay, Steve Nolte is what I want to say, not the actor, but the tinkerer, the Radio Shack aficionado, if there was one. Steve Nolte, part of the team of the Usiak brothers with Bob Preston that did over 70 launches. And there's oh that's Louis in the background, Louis Delgado in the background there. That was Shuttle Fest 4 last year up there. So and this lovely lady, Ellie Sheriff, better known as Ellie in Space to you Facebookers, with Carlton there and Fodsy. And thank you, CB. You brought us Ellie on the show. And though she is a very beautiful lady, she's also very smart and does a great job of her video podcasts that, unlike mine, are very polished and on once a week on there. And here's a fun moment, guys. That might be one of my favorite moments there. There's Dave Stange with Larry Pushkar, and both of them had to teach us how to pronounce their names. And we, after about 6 months of them trying to tell us, we did there. And there's, of course, Terry White and my Ohio State blanket that's backwards there that I actually had on my car when the passenger seat when Jack Lausma of Michigan, University of Michigan fame, sat down. He opened up the door and said, "What the hell's that?" And I said, "Welcome to my world, sir." And he just laughed, and I immediately pushed it out of the side so he could sit down. But these are some Michigan Wolverine fans there. And of course, I'm a Buckeye from Ohio State. So that was a good, fun moment. And there's Larry with his wife, Larry Pushkar, with Marty and I in our studio here. And we've had the wives show up. Of course, if your spouse is not into space, that's why we're wanting the Shuttle Fest to be here, because we're in paradise and you can do all kinds of other things. We've had German TV several times on here. Just recently, ARD TV 1 in German was in the house. And there's Gary Allgaier. Gary Allgaier's approaching the numbers of Terry White being on the show. Gary, a structural engineer for NASA, so knowledgeable on everything else. I know you all love Gary's shows there. And Marty, I think this is my segment where I lose and start crying, waxing eloquently about your participation here and how much you've done for this museum. And there you are with Jose Hernandez. And what's Jose want to do for the museum, Marty? Let me get
eventually, and hopefully we'll do it at the next Shuttle Fest. We're going to do a wine tasting, a book signing, picture signing, and DVD signing.
Yes, he wants to come. We've actually got 3 astronauts want to come. Here's my original board that'll go in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame someday of my pronunciations of people there. But that was my screen. That was my my only. Sometimes that was my only way I knew what I was going to talk about and what slide was next. Was writing stuff down on there. And of course, astronaut birthdays. My astronaut hat there and a birthday wand that we love doing. Steve Jokums, another #1 fan and contributor to our museum, mentions that maybe I should make the astronaut symbol out of that hat. And I haven't had enough time to do that. And I like props. I'm big on props. I've been involved on stage and in plays and stuff like that. And I think my favorite is the shuttle scroll. Fetch the scroll, Trekkie Techie used to say. And this is every shuttle mission. And I've got all kinds of autographs of astronauts and Mike Leinbach and Bob Seek and Jay Honeycutt. And but it's a real good cheat sheet. Up at the top, I got all the orbiters and how many missions they had. But it tells you, for example, just STS-57 was Endeavor's 4th mission in June 1993. And Grabe was the commander, 4th mission. Duffy is 3rd, Lowe is 3rd, and so forth and so forth. So it's been used now 5 years. It's got some tears in the middle, so I need to retire it and keep it in the archives for when the Broadcasting Hall of Fame calls, Marty. And then I said to Karen, I said, you know, we have guests on the show. I'd like for them to write on the wall here that they were on the show. And she said, no, we're not going to write on the wall. And I'm going, well, okay. So then I came up with these pictures of the news of the different pictures at Kennedy Space Center that are 16 by 20s or 11 by 14s. And this is 2024, all the guests that we had on there. Oh, there's astronauts on there. There's Lowell Grissom right there next to my hand. Big old, of course, that's Cliff Watson in Australia, Pomona. He took up that big space there. There's Gene Wright on the bottom, John Harrington, on and on there. There's CB's over here in the corner. Mark, keepsakes of the guests that have been on Stay Curious. There was 45 of them last year, and not counting the repeats on there. So that's over more than one a week. And then this is who we've had on this year. Over 15 guests this year so far. Winston Scott's on there. Don Thomas. And who'd we have on yesterday? We had sign it.
Bert.
Yeah, Bert Dick was on here. So these are some of the things that I do. And Mark Usiak's telling me Ellie has almost 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. Well, we have almost 4,000. Okay, so, but I certainly am not as attractive as her. But, and thank you. I know she had fun on the show, and I'd like to get her back on here. Those are some of the props that I didn't want to get out of the way there. To talk a little bit about Marty. We need to get back to doing, things come and go. The consistency of some things might be a little bit better if we did have a production engineer to help cue things up from day to day. But Marty, I do miss us doing your question of the day. And I think one of the best ones we did was whose Apollo A7L spacesuit is Anna Fisher wearing there? And why is she wearing that? Marty, you want to tell them?
No, go ahead.
Well, it's Pete Conrad's, because he was the shortest, and when she was chosen as one of the first 6 female astronauts, they wanted to train for extravehicular activities. They didn't have any spacesuits for the shuttle yet. They weren't done yet. They weren't built. So she actually did some training in this. And there's our friend Triple T, Travis Thompson. I haven't heard from Travis in a while. No, we've reached out to him. This is his White Room suit that is in the Smithsonian in front of the Atlantis, or the Discovery out there, I mean. And there we are, and Travis got to see it. I got to see it because Marty drove us, and we stayed to Washington, D.C., and we had some wonderful friends of his that we stayed with. And that is a weekend I'll never forget for many reasons, including the somebody that thought they should go with us, Marty, that didn't like that very well. But God bless you, Travis. He added a lot to our program, particularly in the beginning. He was on almost every Friday with Tales from the White Room. And but he's gone his own way, and I think one day maybe his orbit will cross ours again. There's Marty, one of my favorite pictures of you, Marty, talking to Moonwalker Charlie Duke. And that's Charlie's wife right there. Some of the pictures, the best, I think, with celebrities is the ones where you're not just posed there, standing around there. And there's Marty engaging with Charlie Duke. I think you remember what that conversation was about, Marty. Was at Zarella's.
Oh, I definitely remember the conversation. There were 3, I'll say, theories that I knew about as far as why Apollo 11 missed their primary landing site at 4.25 miles. So I asked Charlie, out of the 3, which one is the actual reason? And it was lumpy gravity. I heard stories about a little bit of too much pressure in the docking tunnel when they separated, and that caused the lunar module to travel faster. And excuse me. And I forget the other uh, story that I heard, but anyway, it turns out it was a lumpy gravity.
Yep. Great guy. Of the four moonwalkers, he's the only one that's actively out there still telling the story. Dave Scott is 92 and he's slowed down. Uh, uh, he's they're 89 years old, I think, or 88. Um, for Charlie Duke as the youngest, he was born in October, born in July, is Harrison Schmidt. I think they're both 89 years old, could be 88, and then, of course Buzz is 96, and Jim Lovell's 97. Of course, wasn't a moonwalker; he's the oldest living spaceman. But he's even mentioned that when Harrison Schmidt just wants to talk to universities, he doesn't do too much. He's a geologist after all, and actually he teaches a week at the University of Tennessee. I saw him many times there at some events there. But good for you and Marty. I love that picture of you guys there. And then Marty went remote and we got mooned by some deer this year when he was up in New England, Long Island, where he grew up, and he was doing remote pictures to us up there, and turkeys also up there. That was a lot of fun, Marty, this winter when you were up there, January, I guess. Charlie Walker, boy, what a good guy he is, Marty, and that. To have a conversation intelligent with somebody that's not over your head or not filled with one side or the other influence. That's Charlie Walker. I really enjoy talking to this man. He's really America's first commercial astronaut. Went up 3 times in 2.5 no, like 17 months, 18 months, something like that. In the early days with an electrophoresis machine that he and there's some and he'll be back on the show again. And there's some cool stuff in the background. Those are covers of the hatches in the White Room that loaned to us by launch director Mike Leinbach. John Harrington, that was a good fun time when we've been out with John. John is a character. He's smart. This Navy man is super smart, though he's got a lot of hippie in him too. But he's a Chickasaw Indian native from the Chickasaw Nation, and there we are at a local village inn there, enjoying a meal. If you want to find Marty most days, show up here at the astronaut autographing counter, and we're standing in line there. There's Mark Smith there, being the astronaut wrangler, and Terry Wilcott is seated there. That's what that looks like at the gift shop, and there you are with Terry getting a fist pump from him there as he's about to autograph your thing there. But he's a well-fit gentleman for his age, isn't he? Just like you, Marty. And Marty, I think you asked me one of my favorite moments and times on this program is interviewing these gentlemen here. Okay, Bill Waldron, Roger Visioli. We had other Grummans. These are Marty's co-workers for Grumman on the lunar module, and we are so blessed that we did get Bill Waldron several times on this show. He was the chief engineer on Apollo Lunar Module 5. Okay, Grumman's Lunar Module 5, which was Apollo 11. Roger Visioli, another great guy of the Grumman group there, and hope they're doing well, Marty. I hadn't asked you about them. I'll ask you later, but I know Bill, probably can't do a show anymore. I don't know if he's really got dementia that bad, but he's now in assisted living and but Marty, you brought us these national treasures here, just like yourself, for other people to enjoy out there. So go back and look at those.
Yeah, but just for the record, in case Bill's watching, he does not have dementia.
Oh, okay.
Bill and Roger both have physical problems.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Yeah, but love meeting them, and they've been on the show and done a lot of things. So, gonna go out here with this guy here, Tommy. I love you like a big brother I never had. Marty's number 2. Well, Marty's 1 and you're 2, maybe. Depends on the day or what I eat, But like I said, the story, Tom and I conversed through social media on Messenger, and something just clicked. And next thing I know, him and his brother are friends of the museum, offering them their beautiful photography to us to use any way we want. And then along comes Chris Calley that they knew. And all these people went to Space Fest out in Tucson, Arizona. And this is what Shuttle Fest is now filling a void for. But Tom, appreciates you a lot. There you are with your brother Mark at the Smithsonian. One of my favorite photos that I've taken in a long time. I think I've lost some of my chops there, but just want to thank you all for starting this big crescendo of love from the space geeks out there for our American Space Museum. Thank you so much, Tom and Mark Usiak, for what you do every day to talk about our museum and allow us to share your wonderful work. Marty, you got anything to add personally there? Please do.
Yeah, I do. Thanks for asking. We've had a few people, mainly former space workers that I worked with, that we had on the show. They were on once, maybe twice. I'd like to mention them: Janine Pape.
Yes, Janine Pape. Excellent.
Art Edwards, Chris and Dave Conley.
Randall Clay.
Randall
Was a
Clay.
picture of Randall I wanted
Yeah.
to rack up, but I didn't.
Eric Baker, who's a docent with us. He's been on our show a couple of times. And who I met through Stay Curious, who fascinated me. I thought was one of the better shows. I forget his first name, Verderami.
Oh yeah, we forgot about our UFO expert,
Yeah.
Ken Verderami.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are some of the highlight shows there. I mean, 1,253 episodes. I've missed about not a dozen. Marty's missed probably maybe a dozen, but he did remote in. We used to do remotes in on stuff all the time. So yeah, Tom Celentano summed it up there. So many great Americans have been on this program. And Europeans too. Alex Carl, I love it when Alex is on the show. Our ESA Eurocom up there, and they all bring so much to us, and they all want to come on the show.
And our new friend, Bob Granath.
Yeah, Bob Granath has done 5 or 6 shows with us, PAO officer. And I guess to go out today, John Tilko, Mark Usiak just mentioned Dr. Tilko, coincidentally did his doctor thesis on the simulations of the Apollo that Jay Honeycutt was one of the managers of out there. So, just to sum it up, one thing that, one thing that people have said at the end of our program that is so gratifying is they turn to me and they say, no, they turn to me this way, or they turn to me this way. They turn this way. They turn to me and they say, Mark, that was fun. And every astronaut has said that to me. Turned to me, said that was fun. All the space workers, that was fun. They don't know what to expect. They think it might be a rat-tat-tat interview, and I would never put anybody on the spot. I would never bring up anything that would embarrass somebody. That's not my style from the beginning. This has been a softball conversation with space workers who our museum embraces as truly national treasures of America, doing something no one else has ever done on the face of the earth. Send humans to the moon and create a permanent space station for over 2 decades. Yes, we had the Russian Salyuts and Mirs, but now this is almost a permanent outpost that I think could be upgraded from time to time. So that's what we celebrate here. When people look to me and say, I had fun, that was fun, that is the reward that I get, because and then they're talking about things, Marty, that their families don't even know. All right. So I've said that too. My wife watched the show and she didn't know all that stuff. And she goes, why didn't you tell me that stuff? And the man usually says, well, because you acted like you weren't interested in it, So, but can't thank everybody enough. Lee Wilson, Neil 1030, another guy that keeps me straight. Appreciate that. Elena Adkahara, she's new, so she's probably been interested in how this whole thing started out of the pandemic. Tom Colbert, is up in Ireland, I believe. Bill Whiting, another great volunteer of our museum that found the show up in Michigan. We've got Doug Forrest, Minerva's Comp, all right. Tom Celentano, faithful viewer. Dean Babcock, Bob Mayran, they're relatively new. Mitch Rothman's watching today. Give you a call later there, man space. Steve Jokums. So great to make friends like Steve Jokums. I text him about Formula One sometimes. Just awesome to be this stage of our life. Julie Clay, a newbie that's embraced our museum. Mark Thell, Dave Stange, of course, Connie McDaniel watching, and Anita Truex, our office manager here. We couldn't do without Anita and all the people that she's brought me to. She's the one that came in the office and said, these guys named Uziak or something are out here, for to see you. Sharon Rodriguez, I know you're watching at the U.S. Space Force and sharing out there with your director, Jamie, who's doing great things out there, Jamie Draper. So thank you all for...
Nick Enoch.
Oh, Nick Enix. Yes, I got to talk about Nick Enix, our collection manager here. Thank you, Marty. Nick makes this museum look great, and we're trying to do things so get him some more money to upgrade it. You'll be seeing some changes, you all, when you come to the here for Shuttle Fest. So one last image, an appropriate image about the space age and about the partners that we've created here. And that's this one right here, Chris Callie's Earthrise, a stylized version of Starry Nights there in Chris's wonderful style there. Thank you, Chris, for being another brother of mine here late in life. It means so much to have friends and family that get what you're doing, and you all are definitely my family. So thank you all for letting us share and reminisce about 5 years of Stay Curious. Of course, we couldn't do it without you, and we need more people to embrace us. I don't know if we'll be getting Ellie in space numbers anytime soon, but we'll take what we can get, as we feel we're providing content that nobody on YouTube is, in a way of celebrating the space shuttle era, astronaut birthdays, interviews with space workers and astronauts, and more importantly, your input to what you feel and think about America's space program. So I love you all. You all have changed my life, and I mean that very sincerely. And let's keep doing it together, one episode at a time. As I'm saying for today, that I'm Mark Marquette, and I am so blessed that you all want to bridge the space between us. Thank you.